Tonight on News 5 Live, marathon first House meeting was at the new government and spends hours detailing scandals of the past administration. The Briceño administration introduces a series of new bills. Speaker of the House put to the test on the first day of the job. The details of the lucrative Karen Bevins contract revealed. Bus operators make their plea to the Transport Ministry. And a new Miss Universe Belize to be crowned on Saturday. Details of these stories and much more coming up in tonight's newscast.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or cut off when you need to be connected? It's a fact that when you sign up for Smart's Plus plan,
Good evening and welcome to News 5 Live for Friday, January 8th. I am Sabrina Daly. Prime Minister John Briceño chaired his first House meeting today, a marathon sitting that just concluded less than half an hour ago. During these COVID times, the chambers have been retrofitted with plastic cubicles separating the area representatives. The PUP government commenced with explosive details about a land hustle in the Department of Lands. When the People's United Party won the elections, the Lands Department in Belmopan was closed down. In fact, the then legal counsel for the department, Attorney Llewellyn Usher, was removed from the premises by officers. This is after the Prime Minister ordered the closure of the department as part of an investigation. Today, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Natural Resources, Cordell Hyde, revealed partial details of that investigation. And according to Hyde, it shows massive land fraud and scam. Hyde calls out former UDP Minister of Lands, Gaspar Vega.
Madam Speaker, huge tracts of land have been gobbled up by a tiny few. You name the area: Mountain Pine Ridge, San Pedro, Kikaka, Placencia, Independence, Hopkins, the Coastal Road, and I could go on and on. Huge, beautiful, valuable tracts of land sold for a paltry sum by the government of Belize. There's very little left to be had by the landless, for the landless. Very little land left for the children of the landless and the voiceless. The schemes were incredible. And of course, they found their genesis under former Minister Gaspar Vega. Thousands of acres in the pristine Mountain Pine Ridge area gone forever, just like that. Putting other people's names unbeknownst to those people by scheming ministers and compliant public officers. When you match the signatures on the land documents with that of the copies of the social security cards, they don't square. It's a scheme that starts with ministers and their representatives able to get copies of the social security cards of the unsuspecting constituents who have come to apply to their offices for financial assistance. From there, these copies of social cards would form the bedrock of a land application, and those needy, unsuspecting individuals would be the recipients of massively lucrative chunks of land, but they don't know. The lands are in their names, but they don't know. The lands are later sold to wealthy individuals, but they don't know. The money is shared presumably between the ministers and their cronies, but they don't know. We have a case in Mountain Pine Ridge where permission to survey was granted to 5 individuals to each survey 115 acres of the juiciest, most fertile land on planet Earth. The 5 persons got the permission to survey in January 2012, 115 acres each, for a grand total of 575 acres in Mountain Pine Ridge. These 5 individuals then get titles to these lands 1 year later, all on the same day, January 8, 2013. They each pay a measly $15,039 to the government for 115 acres of Mountain Pine Ridge land, the area of the country where God smiled on us the most. 2.5 years later, all on the same day in September of 2015, these 5 people, Hilda Guerra, Joventino Guerra, Guadalupe Mojica, Hilda Mojica, and John Ramirez, all transferred ownership in the lands to Belize Roadway Construction Limited for $325,000, $265,000, $345,000, $275,000, and $230,000 respectively. If you're wondering who Belize Roadway Construction Limited is, they got the contract to resurface portions of the George Price Highway, I believe, and the Hummingbird Highway. But another related company of theirs also got 900 acres from the then government of Belize in the coastal area, 897 acres to be precise. Something like that must be illegal, because I don't recall it ever coming to the House for approval. And as far as I know, anything over 500 acres should get House approval before distribution. 2 of these 5 persons who got these lands are actually Guatemalans, while there are many tens of thousands of Belizeans who can't get lands.
Minister Hyde then spoke of another incident of clear land fraud. According to Hyde, the victim this time was a man named Florencio Talbert, and the alleged perpetrator was the former CEO of the Ministry of Works, Errol Gentle. Hyde told the House that Gentle reportedly acquired lands in the Mountain Pine Ridge area in Talbert's name. The problem was that Talbert had no idea. And when he went to investigate, he found out that the land, which was under his name, was sold to Gentle.
There's another case of a man, Florencio Talbert, a tall gentleman of modest means who worked as a mechanic for 9 years at the Ministry of Works compound in Santa Elena, I believe. A tall fella, 6'4", have a lot of height but not much cash. High on height but low on cash. Unbeknownst to Mr. Florencio is that he owned acres upon acres in Mountain Pine Ridge. He owned the land but didn't know. Applied for the land but didn't know. Purchased the land from the government but didn't know. Florencio Talbert says he was very good friends with the then Ministry of Works CEO, Errol Gentle. Or so he thought. Gentle had asked for his social security card a few times, but he was never told exactly why. Talbert says Errol Gentle even went to his house one day for his social security card. But according to Talbert, he never questioned anything, because he used to work as Gentle's bodyguard also. So one day last year, an enterprising gentleman goes to Florencio and says, "Do you know that you own some of the most prime real estate in this country?" Florencio, of course, says no. So the man convinces Florencio to give him power of attorney so that he can acquire the lands from him. So they go to the lands department together, only to find out that 1 year earlier, in 2019, the lands that were in Florencio Talbert's name was transferred to Errol Gentle and to a company named Scorpio Development Company, owned by Rene Montero's two sons, Rene Jr. and Robert Montero. All this happened, and Florencio Talbert never knew.
Minister Hyde then revealed that the investigation into the Lands Department uncovered the unthinkable, something he says he would have never thought would have been done. In these challenging times of COVID-19, Hyde says that the land compensation budget ballooned with the then Barrow administration issuing out $15 million in compensation in September alone. He singles out one case in Belama, where the government paid out more than $6 million for mangrove land.
The budget for land compensation for fiscal year 2020-2021 is $12 million. These people busted that budget in the middle of COVID, while people were losing their jobs and struggling to feed their children and can't pay their bills. These people were busy racking up bills of $22 million on land compensation. In the month of September alone, they wrapped up over $15 million in new land compensation commitments. Amazing, simply amazing. And in that month, they did something that I thought was unthinkable. On September 25th of 2020, the then government entered into a contract to pay a lady by the name of Barbara Harris Ware $6,067,000 for 26 acres of land in the Belama area, pure mangrove, for $6 million. The government then proceeds to subdivide the land into 5 big parcels and further attempt to subdivide these lands into 130 house lots. But elections was fast approaching and time was running out. So the fellas over there, instead of issuing the lots to 130 individuals or leaving the land to distribute for whoever emerges as the victorious party, decide to sell the $6 million land to a former UDP senator and campaign manager for the member of college. Not for $6 million, or $5 million, or $4 million, or 3 or 2 or $1 million. Those 26 acres of land that the government paid $6 million for was sold for $26,000. And they weren't done there. The original parcel of land owned by Mrs. Weir comprised 39.49 acres of land. Government bought 26 acres of that land and then gave her title for the remaining 13.49 acres as part of the settlement agreement. She got her title November 5th of 2020. But the following day, November 6th, 2020, the Lands Department issued a purchase approval for the same 13.49 acres to one Roosevelt Blades. So it's not bad enough that Mr. Blades got an opportunity to buy the $6 million land for not $26,000 but $33,000, the 26 acres of Belama land. He had to get the other 13 acres for which the lady had already gotten title. It's insanity on stilts. But there's a saving grace, Madam Speaker, because Mr. Blades never did complete the payments for the 6 parcels of land that comprise the 26 acres and 13.49 acres. He only paid about $7,500 of the purchase price. So, Madam Speaker, Mr. Blades can come back for his money. Or someone over there can pick up the money for him. Or if they're ashamed to do either, then we can mail it to him, or deposit it to him, or wire transfer it to him. But that land, he is not getting his paws on.
The repossession of government assets from past ministers continues. The Ministry of Infrastructure Development, formerly the Ministry of Works, is pursuing the recovery of missing inventory. Earlier today, at mile 3.5 on the George Price Highway, the police retrieved heavy equipment from former Minister Anthony Boots Martinez's property. A bitumen batching plant, which is equipment used in road construction, has been sitting on the compound since 2010. At that time, Martinez was the political head of the department. In a memo issued on Thursday by CEO Victor Espat to the Commissioner of Police, the ministry requested assistance from the police department to retrieve the equipment.
Just now, Madam Speaker, again, legal. They tell me we find one machine coming out of Belize City. For the past administrator minister, I never the one before, I mean the one leave it before. Now the one who used to wear some bulky thing in his socks. It said we find one piece of equipment just now. That is the equipment they used to use for patch road. Madam Speaker, that is a fact. An hour ago, an equipment was retrieved from a property that was managed by the ex-minister that is for the property of Belize through the Infrastructure Development Ministry.
Infrastructure Development and Housing. I'm just going to ask again, please, just let's be careful with language and let's be careful of standing orders, particularly Standing Order 38.
Maintaining order in the House of Representatives amid the constant verbal exchanges across the floor has always been a challenge. Despite being regarded as the honorable House, Parliament has long been the venue for heated interactions between the government and its opposition. Today was no different, even though it was the first working session since the National Assembly's ceremonial opening in December. And restoring a sense of calm, House Speaker Valerie Woods stuck to her guns during a spat between Cayo South Area Representative Julius Espat, Prime Minister John Bersenio, and Opposition Leader Patrick Faber. It was the first test of the presiding officer's mettle, and Woods wasted no time establishing that she was in control of the House. Here's how Madam Speaker diffused it.
1 second, Honorable Prime Minister. It is not lost on me that the first session of Parliament, after the type of election that was won, would not necessarily be an easy one to preside over. So let me make some clarifications now in order that we can proceed with today's session. The office of the clerk should have informed the member for Mesopotamia. I was informed that that was done, that the questions would be moved over to the regular sitting. For any special sitting, that will be the direction that I take from time to time, dependent on the environment that we're in. So where we can reduce time, but not ever disenfranchise any member's right to ask questions by simply moving it, for which I am authorized to do, to a regular sitting, I so will. On the matter of parliamentary language, let me be very frank. As the nation is extremely aware, as much as all of us in here are, that this is a situation that we're all going to have to work together on, because it has happened time and time again. I have asked before to please be careful with the language. It is totally understandable that members in a first session of a parliament will want to express themselves, and ministers of government, as is allowed, does have that right to present statements from their ministerial portfolios. I will ask all members again for your kind cooperation regarding parliamentary language.
On the heels of a stunning defeat at the polls on November 11th last year, it was expected that all UDP appointed chairpersons on various statutory bodies, including the executives of the Belize Tourism Board, would step down as the respectable course of action. Director of Tourism Karen Bevans, who signed a 5-year contract to remain in that position until 2024, insists on staying put, despite coming under fire from the new administration. Her contract, signed at the beginning of the 2019 financial calendar, is for $173,000 annually. Here's News 5's Isani Caetano with a breakdown of the agreement.
Director of Tourism Karen Bevans renewed her employment contract with the government of Belize at the start of the fiscal year 2019 for a 5-year period that commenced on April 8th of that same year. It is a rather straightforward agreement which lays out quite clearly the terms of reference under which she functions as head of the Belize Tourism Board. In her capacity, Bevans raked in an annual salary of $173,250, which, over the life of the contract, amounts to almost $870,000. This is separate from a salary increase based on her performance, which ranges between 5% and 10% per annum. It is also part of the 25% yearly bonus she receives at the end of each fiscal year, and her annual Christmas bonus. But what is most glaring about the terms of that agreement are the monthly allowances that Bevans enjoys. While her registered home address is on Queen Helmet Avenue, Coral Grove, Belize City, Bevans also receives a housing allowance of $2,000 at the end of each month. She also receives a $1,000 perk for monthly communication expenses, that is for phone calls and internet usage. Bevans' pension and insurance benefits are equally interesting. As director, she is part of BTB's executive management team in a pension scheme called BTB Top Hat. She is eligible to participate in the BTB Health and Life Insurance Group Plan. However, if she chooses not to, the BTB will cover her individual policy at its expense. In her role, Bevans is also assigned a vehicle for exclusive use, and the organization foots all other related expenses, including fuel and maintenance. Since the People's United Party took office following the November 2020 elections, there have been several concerns about Bevans' contract. But getting rid of the present Director of Tourism is not as easy as giving her the walking papers. To do so without cause prior to the expiration of the contract will leave government on the hook for sums equal to all salaries and all other remuneration. She is also entitled to all other benefits that would have been due to her for the full remaining term of the contract. And while notice is usually given 6 months prior to the end of the contract, it can be automatically renewed on the same terms set out in the existing agreement in the absence of notice from either party.
We got a chance to ask Prime Minister John Bersenio about Bevins' contract today. Bevins has threatened through Barrow and Williams law firm to sue Prime Minister John Bersenio for defaming her in a previous media interview when talking about her contract. Bersenio is sticking to his guns, telling Bevins that she does not want to go down that road.
If Mrs. Bevins wants to sue me, that's her right. As a Belizean citizen, I stand by what I said. I don't think she wants to go to court because then when we set up all the evidence of what has happened during her time, it's not going to be a pretty picture. And so I would hope that she decides not to go to court. But if she wants to go to court, then that's her right, and I support that.
She remains BTV director?
Yes, she remains the director of BTV with her, what, $250,000 times 5, how much is that?
A lot of money, a lot of money.
A lot of money. Over $1 million she's going to collect at a time when one of the first things that she did in April was fire almost half of her staff because she wanted to save money. So I don't think she wants us to go down that road.
Beleaguered former Land Commissioner Wilbert Vallejos and his family in Pachacan, Corozal District were the subject of an intelligence-led operation on January 4th, where their residence was searched by personnel from the Mobile Interdiction Team. The Belize Police Department had received actionable information, which led to the officers raiding the property. The operation yielded a large sum of money in various currencies and denominations, with almost $70,000 in cash being recovered. The Financial Intelligence Unit was called in to assist with the investigation, but the matter was never formally reported by the BPD. This afternoon, News 5 caught up with Commissioner Chester Williams, who provided additional details on the sting.
Earlier this week, based on the information received, a team of police officers visited the home of Mr. Wilbert Vallejos in the Pachacan area of Corozal District. A search was conducted of the premises, and the search yielded just over 80,000 in Belize currency cash, over 600 in U.S. currency cash, and about 10,000 Mexican pesos. Also found were a number of land documents that the police also took possession of. Mr. Vallejos' family, who were at home at the time, were detained by the police, and FIU were brought into the picture to practically take over the investigation. And I know that yesterday there was a hearing in Corozal Town Magistrate Court where Mr. Vallejos, through his attorney, had applied to the court for the release of the money to him. The court ruled yesterday that FIU can hold the money until April. So it is to give FIU and police the time needed to be able to conduct an investigation to be able to ascertain how Mr. Vallejos may have came into possession of the money. If at the end of that investigation he can prove that it came about through legal or legitimate means, then the money will be returned to him. And if the contrary is proven, then it's a matter for FIU to prefer charges against him for money laundering or any other relevant offense.
Mr. Vallejos' request to have the monies released to him, is that him claiming that the money belongs to him?
Well, if he's requesting that the money be returned to him, that's an admission that the money belongs to him. So it's something that we're looking at, because
Earlier on, his mother claimed the money belonged to her. Now he's saying the money belonged to him. So there is already an issue as it relates to who the actual owner of the money is.
Coming up, PM talks retrenchment, and you'll hear from Belize's first female comptroller of customs.
Hello, friends. This is Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word. And the Lord said unto Moses, Say unto Aaron, Stretch out thy rod, and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And they did so, and all the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, This is a finger of God. The Bible speaks of God's face, His hair, His eyes, His feet, His hands, His arms, and 4 times it speaks of God's finger. The 10 Commandments were written on tablets of stone by the finger of God. The heavens were created by the finger of God. Jesus spoke of casting out demons by the finger of God. The finger of God is spoken of in Exodus when Moses and Aaron performed the miracle of turning dust into lice to convince Pharaoh to let the children of Israel leave Egyptian bondage. Pharaoh's enchanters and sorcerers could duplicate what Moses did when God turned the water into blood and when frogs appeared all over the land. However, when Moses stretched out the rod of God over Egypt and dust was turned to lice, they could not duplicate that and had to admit, this is a finger of God. They now know Moses and Aaron were not magicians as they themselves, but men of a holy and all-powerful God. They now discovered it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of a living God. Today our world is being held in bondage by the power of darkness and lawlessness. Could the finger of God be about to appear? Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
Much of today's proceedings within the National Assembly chambers were statements by ministers. It was until 2 in the afternoon that the House moved into the day's business, starting with introducing the Good Governance in Belize Motion 2021. In the evening, Briceño introduced the 2 general revenue supplementary bills. These bills, according to Prime Minister John Briceño, will not only make millions available to fight the effects of the recent storms and flooding, but assist in the COVID-19 battle.
What we're looking at, pretty much what we have that this government, the previous UDP government, has left us there ending up borrowing about approximately $510 million this year. There is a hole or a crater, you want to say, of $300 million that we have to find a way how we're going to close that. What we have to do today in the appropriation bill is to put the necessary monies for the emergencies that we have from the hurricanes and the floodings and the pandemic. I mean, for instance, we are approving $15 million for the Ministry of Health. We're approving $12 million for infrastructure to assist in the repairing of some of the infrastructure. We're approving monies for the grocery bags because the UDP spent everything. They left nothing, so we have to be approving all of these monies. So that is what we'll be doing this afternoon. But in my presentation, I'm going to give a complete overview of the economy and what we have found, and as a preview to the consultations that we're going to be having with our social partners, with the public service, with the unions, with the private sector, as to how is it that then we can put to right the ship into the path of sustainable growth, and how we're going to work towards balancing the budget, and how we're going to grow the economy.
But the Briceño administration is facing a financial dilemma. As the PM said in his New Year address, the government broke. A ballooning wage bill burdens the fiscal budget. In fact, the wage bill and the pension bill together are 80% of the country's $1 billion budget. Briceño says that there are no retrenchment talks, but his government is ready to consult with its partners, such as the public service and teachers.
We have to look at everything. As it is right now, the wage bill and the pension bill combined is approximately about over 80% of the budget. And we, in December, announced that we will start. We have taken a 10% cut into our salaries as a gesture of goodwill to show that we're prepared to do what is necessary. We are going to sit down with the unions and with a blank sheet of paper, and we're going to see what are the steps that we can take to be able to cover this huge crater in the budget, how we'll be able to try to reduce the debt that we have. I mean, the UDP alone, just of late over the past year, has borrowed almost $1 billion all from paper from central bank, and it's unsustainable. We have to fix it, and we can only fix it with our partners, of which both the public service union and the teachers unions, they are our partners, and we have to do it together. It's not myself or them, but all of us together as to how we're going to fix it.
Is the government now considering retrenchment in the public service, and those who remain employed receive a 20% pay cut?
We haven't considered anything. As I said, we have a blank paper, and we are going to sit down with our partners, and together we have to make the decisions. And whatever decisions that we come that will be able to get us on a sustainable footing, we are going to do that. But we cannot continue to spend money that we don't have, because if we continue to that, then everything is going to crash.
So the government continues to borrow $1 million every day to meet salaries?
Right now it's a little less than $1 million, but yes, we still continue to do that. That is why we have set up a high-powered economic recovery task force. We got the best of the best in the different sectors of the economy, and now they are trying to see, they are coming up with ideas as to how they could get the economy going.
The most recent COVID-19 prevention measures outlined in Statutory Instrument 175 included a 50% capacity on all public transportation. bus owners immediately voiced their discontent with the decision, as it was simply not feasible for them to maintain their runs. The compromise made then was to allow for 75% capacity per bus. But now the Belize Bus Association says its operators are barely breaking even with the 75% capacity. So they are appealing to the government to allow bus operators the 100% carrying capacity. President Thomas Shaw put forth that request to Minister Rodwell Ferguson in a meeting this morning. Shaw said the Minister of Logistics wasn't able to commit and asked for the association to give him some time to respond. He tells us more about the meeting and why they are advocating for the return to full capacity.
I told them that fuel went up since they gave us the 75. Well, they agreed on the 75% because they had us at 50 and I lobbied and we actually got it to 75. But as I said, it's really, really hard on the operators right now with the tickets, sanitizing. It's an additional expense, and so I told them it's urgent that they really intervene and do something, because we didn't mind compromising through the holiday, but we cannot do it for long, you know.
Right. So operators want the capacity to go back to 100%, you're saying?
We want seating capacity because when you look at it at 60, 50, wherever you want to put it, there's no way you can social distance inside a bus. Seats are just like 2 feet apart when everybody actually, it's just that everybody inside a bus wear their mask. You haven't heard about no cases whereas the buses has been a super spreader. Most of the time these things come from parties, bars, and stuff like that. The operator does not intend to go through this for too long. You cannot operate. Things is bad already, and to be operating at 75%, it's really, really, really hard. So I brought it up in our meeting. On that day, we said, Mr. Shaw, I understand, and we will be working on it, and give them maybe another week or so before whenever the site committee meets, and then they review it. But my operators basically want to go back to the 100%.
In another 2 weeks, in another month, if the government isn't able to commit to 100% capacity, where does this leave bus operators?
Well, more than likely, nobody goes into business to lose. More than likely, if they don't go back to 100%, more than likely the operators just cannot operate like that. But as I said, we believe in dialogue, and we don't want to actually enfranchise the commuters, and this is the reason why they said that before we fight, it's best we come to the table and we dialogue, and this is the process that we're going through right now.
Shaw says that in this first meeting with the new minister, they discussed a range of issues that are central to the survival of the bus transport industry. Among those issues were road permits, bus schedules, and parking. But at the heart of the conversation was the issue of subsidies for bus operators. You'll recall that the Bus Association was asking the previous administration to subsidize some of their costs. But that didn't happen even after the pandemic set in. Now, Shaw is lobbying the new government as he says the cost of fuel is killing bus operators.
Before the COVID even came out, we were asking for subsidy and assistance from GOB, but apparently that didn't really work out. And as it is right now, we discussed the 15 minutes, whereas you have like buses leaving like 2:45, 1, 3 o'clock, 1, 3:15, 1, 3:30, whereas nobody is really making money. So the minister assured us that they'll be looking into these things and actually bringing all the road service permits, and they do a complete, comprehensive view of the whole system.
What kind of subsidy are you looking for?
Well, basically, ever since the fuel has always been a plague out there. Fuel has always been a plague, and that's one of the main objectives right now, the cost of fuel. In terms of, let's say, tires, parts, maybe we are talking about if you bring in a bus from the United States, you get some sort of, well, not fully exempted, but at least you get not fully duty free, but you get exemption on it. Where there's some some sort of incentive for the operators?
Mr. Shaw, did the new minister give you any assurances or any sort of commitment to review that issue of the subsidy and perhaps to try and meet you guys halfway?
Well, he hasn't, as I said, it's an ongoing dialogue, but he did assure that, because I told him in the past what it is that, you know, whenever we are supposed to dialogue, we don't have that relationship with the government. The minister stated that he's willing to really work with the operators, work with the association, and see how we can change things around. But he said they just got in, and we need to give them a time to really get all of these things straightened out.
A press release from the Ministry of Logistics says that Minister Rodwell Ferguson and CEO Marconi Leal presented plans for the transportation industry and ways the ministry is able to support the association. Estelle Leslie is the first woman to ascend to comptroller's post, a singular seat in the Customs and Excise Department. In 1988, when she began as an entry-level officer, Leslie dreamt of someday rising to the highest rank. Today, 32 years later, she has accomplished that feat. The journey to get here was not easy. It required a lot from Leslie, including a return to the classroom to pursue higher studies. When the time came for her predecessor to retire, Leslie was one of the only 2 candidates being eyed for the position, based on the hierarchy and succession within the department. When the decision was finally announced that she succeeds Colin Griffith as the next Comptroller of Customs, Leslie was filled with joy.
I feel blissful right now. I feel happy. Words can't even come right now because I've been here since 1988. And from I stepped through the door in 1988, my dream was always to become the first female Comptroller of Customs. So I've entered the department, made it my career. I started as grade 2, moved up the rank to grade 1, then to senior custom examiner, and then to collector. That name was changed to assistant comptroller, then deputy comptroller, and finally as the Comptroller of Customs. So I have worked several areas of the department. I haven't shied away from any responsibility given to me. I've always did my job to the best of my ability, and I knew that in order to succeed and to reach this level, it would mean that I would need to get some kind of education as well. So I went back to school, acquired my bachelor's degree, and then my master's degree. So to equip myself for today, as the Comptroller of Customs.
The Belize Airports Authority has a new 7-member board of directors. Ricardo Martin is the newly appointed chairman of the board of the BAA. A press release from the Belize Airports Authority says that Martin brings years of experience and leadership skills that will, quote, ensure the prosperity of the BAA by collectively directing the company's affairs while meeting the interests of its shareholders and relevant stakeholders, unquote. We note that Martin was a key member of the new Civil Aviation Minister, André Perez's campaign team. Martin is joined by 2 other Sanpedranos and strong supporters of Perez. They are Perez's brother-in-law, Sandy Roberts, who has been appointed as deputy chairman, and Natalie Arceo, who will serve as secretary to the board. Nigel Beloy and Leonardo Nicholas Varela have been appointed as directors on the board, as well as CEO in the Ministry of Civil Aviation, Kennedy Carrillo, and Raquel Guerra, who is a director in the Ministry of Finance. Less than a month after the price for liquefied petroleum gas were introduced, there is another challenge to be fixed for controlled prices, which will take effect on December 9th. The prices are up across the board by 23 cents per gallon for both wholesale and retail. A release from the Belize Bureau of Standards advises that LPG will now be sold at $3.16 per gallon wholesale and retail at $4.76 per gallon. After the break, government complains that chairman of the Elections and Boundaries Commission, Steve Pereira, won't step down. Attorney Estevan Pereira was sworn as the chairman of the Elections and Boundaries Commission in July 2020 under the Barrow administration. He is a known UDP supporter who has also served on various boards, including the Social Security Board, Belize Water Services, and the Belize Liquor License Board. And like several other political appointees, Pereira has not resigned from his position, that is, since the change of government. Today, the Prime Minister called on Pereira to do the honorable thing and resign.
Everybody knows that Steve Pereira is a UDP, and I told him, Steve, made a friend, but you're a UDP, and that's fine. That's your decision. When the former Prime Minister appointed Steve Pereira, 2 or 3 months before the general elections, he knew that an election was going to come. He never appointed Steve Pereira for 3 months or 6 months. He appointed Steve Pereira for 5 years. 5 years. And now, when you appoint the Elections and Boundaries Commission, check this out. Check this out. You appoint 2 members on the opposition, we appoint 2, and then you have Steve Pereira, so you control the Elections and Boundaries Commission. You think we're stupid? That's the problem. We don't think we're so smart. We don't think we're so smart. But I'm saying publicly right now, Steve Pereira needs to do the decent and honest thing, and he needs to resign from the Elections and Boundaries Commission.
What happens if Steve Pereira refuses to resign from the commission?
There are other options that we were looking at, but I think that Steve Pereira, I think he's a good man and he will do the right thing, which is to step down from the elections and boundaries. He hasn't, but I do believe at the end of the day he will. But if he doesn't, then we have other options as to what we're going to do.
Who sits as the head of the Elections and Boundaries Commission is important to the ruling administration, as in less than 2 months, voters will be returning to the polls for the municipal elections. As we reported on Thursday, well-known athlete Kaya Katus has submitted an application to the People's United Party's executive for a spot on its slate for the municipal elections for Belize City. Today we asked the sitting mayor, Bernard Wagner, who has already confirmed that he is seeking re-election. He told us that the party's chairman will determine the slate. While he does not influence who the successful applicants will be, he hopes that they are for the people and not for personal interests.
Given the success of this council and given the success at the recent general elections, that has re-energized a lot of people, a lot of party people. It has re-energized a lot of us in the city. So a lot of people feel that I want to be a part of this good thing. I want to be a part of this good party. And so you have this frenzy being created, and we are just hoping that the machinery of the party are able to ensure that the 10 best persons who have the city at heart and who have the residents of the city at heart are the 10 persons who at the end of the day stand beside me on that slate.
Essentially weeding out the people who are not there for the people and there for personal interests.
You said it, Dwayne.
Reflecting on the completion of his term, Mayor Wagner acknowledges that the economic challenges brought on by COVID-19 did impact the council's ability to fulfill its manifesto promises. According to Wagner, he feels they get to about 80 to 90%. He says that this third year was primarily crisis management, but that they helped many. When we come back, teenager battling cancers needs your help.
Everyone is at risk of catching COVID-19, so it's important to quickly recognize signs and symptoms of the infection. The most common symptoms are fever, dry cough,
A teenager in Secaucus needs your help to seek medical attention in Guatemala. 13-year-old Kendra Avalos was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer a few years ago. In 2015, she had one of her kidneys removed. But as a part of her recovery, she needs a regular medical checkup. And according to the teen's mom, Melida Castaneda, her daughter wasn't able to go for her routine checkup all of last year. Now her mom is reaching out to the public for financial assistance to travel to Guatemala next month. Today, Castaneda told us about her daughter's condition and why she needs the help.
So far, the doctors have told me that she can live with that kidney, but under certain conditions. Recently, she had been feeling not too well. I took her to the hospital here in San Ignacio, and the doctor that did the checkup, he told me, he said, Ms. Castaneda, the best advice I could give you is for you to take back your child to Guatemala City. First, because we don't have the equipment or the requirements that you need for your daughter here. Secondly, because we don't have any record of your daughter in the system. In 2020, we had missed all the appointments. Our appointment was the 1st of April. We missed it. Financial problems and the borders were closed, and I wasn't fully aware of how to apply for us to travel. The second appointment was on September. We couldn't make it as well. Then the third appointment was in October. Same as well, we couldn't make it. Now, the doctor sent me an email and said, you know what, Mr. Castaneda, you guys need to come. You guys need to come. It's too much time that Kendra has been missing the appointments and we don't know what's going on with her. She is not on the stage of dying. But what I'm asking for is for the financial help for me to travel from Belize to Guatemala City. And over there, we stay normally to 5 to 6 days. And we have to rent a place where to stay, the taxi fees, the passages from the bus, the food, and the medical expense in the hospital itself, they don't charge. I will clarify that. The medical expense in the hospital, as long as the hospital can do the exam. But many times, what they cannot do, we are sent outside of the hospital, which will be like the CAT scan, the MRIs, and the Dopplers, the regular other ultrasounds, we could do it in the hospital. And then what is the checkup with the heart, we don't do it in the hospital. We have to come out of the hospital to do it. So there's where the expense starts to come.
Castaneda says she needs to raise approximately 2,500 Belize dollars to travel to Guatemala on February 1st. The family is doing a barbecue fundraiser on January 15th in San Jose, Secaucus. If you would like to support or assist in any way, you can call Castaneda at 622-7270 or make a deposit to Heritage Bank account number 221-2066. And this unfortunate update earlier this week told you about the Kwan's family appeal for blood donors. Orlando Kwan Sr. was hospitalized with severe COVID-19 and needed blood transfusions and platelets for treatment. Sadly, despite the medical team's support and generous blood donors, Kwan Sr. succumbed to the disease on Thursday night. Who will be the next Miss Universe Belize? When we come back, we'll tell you where you can find out. The new Miss Universe Belize will be crowned on Saturday at 3 p.m. during a live virtual event right here on Channel 5. Like so many other traditions during the pandemic, the selection process had to be modified. Instead of a pageant, 15 hopefuls applied via a casting call held in November 2020. And now the new beauty ambassador will be revealed on Saturday. The new Miss Universe Belize will succeed outgoing queen Destiny Arnold. News 5's Dwayne Moody has more.
Second place goes to Destiny Wagner, which means the new Miss Belize Universe is Destiny Arnold.
It's been an interesting and very different reign for Miss Universe Belize 2019 Destiny Arnold. Due to the pandemic, plans changed, but Arnold pushed through, providing tuition grants to 18 primary school students, which are national scholarship winnings. Arnold has also been able to help single mothers in Roaring Creek, as well as families who were affected by recent flooding in her home village. She even became a brand ambassador for the Miss Universe official skincare line. It's a bittersweet moment for Arnold as her journey comes to an end.
There's a lot of things that did get accomplished during my reign. Of course, you always want more. You always want to do more. But you know what? Sometimes life hits you and you just have to kind of roll with the punches and fight back. And I think that's exactly what I did.
Over a year ago, Arnold achieved a childhood dream to represent the jewel at the highest level of pageantry, Miss Universe. While she did not capture the crown, she won the hearts of so many from Belize and elsewhere.
Just want to tell you congratulations on fulfilling your reign as Miss Belize 2019. I know that the year wasn't what you thought it would be, but you made the most of it. We couldn't be prouder of you. We know that you'll continue to work hard for the beautiful country of Belize. We love you, and we can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
Congratulations. Hi, Destiny. It's your national director. I just wanted to say congratulations on this past year. It's been an absolute honor having you as my Miss Universe Belize, and I can't wait to see what's next for you and all the successes that I'm sure you will have in your life.
I'm utterly proud of you, and I will always look up to you. And I just want to tell you that we're on to the next chapter. And I will always be right by your side.
The hard work, the dedication, the ethics that you possess, it's unmatched. And I feel like those qualities that you have are what makes you so outstanding and such a great role model for young girls.
You have indeed made us proud, and you have shown us that a queen is not made, but a queen is born.
You rocked the stage, you turned heads, and you had people flying from all over the world to see you.
Hey Destiny, it's Erica. I just wanted to say congratulations on your reign as Miss Universe Belize.
Watch you live out your dream was such an incredible thing to see. You know, you've set the bar really high for every queen that comes after you.
Hi Destiny, it's Hector here from Venezuela. Wishing you all the best for your life and enjoy, be happy. I support you and I hope to meet you soon. Big hugs, and I hope that you can be successful in your life and that all your dreams can come true. Kisses from Venezuela.
You came, you saw, you conquered. You saw your dreams come to life, and I'm honored to have been walking beside you on your journey. The laughs we share far outweigh the tears, and we both know there should be an ocean for the tears we've shared along the way. I'm so proud of the woman you have become and looking forward to your next chapter in life. TT loves you with every piece of my soul. My queenie, my pestie, my Desi. Destination Belize, destination forever. Gracefully and grandly.
Miss Belize! The new Miss Universe Belize will be crowned on January 9th at 3 p.m. right here on Channel 5. Wade Moody for News 5.
They just released the latest crime statistics for 2020. Now the Belize Crime Observatory wants to recognize outstanding journalists. The media competition is an extension of a data training workshop that the organization held last February. According to Adele Ramos, the technical coordinator of the BCO, the purpose is to recognize journalists for their work and use of statistical crime data. She shares the details.
it's really been crafted to recognize the work of journalists here in Belize, as the role of the media is really very critical in the scheme of things. I mean, we talk about a data management cycle, and that starts from the gathering of information by the different entities, the Belize Police Department, the National Forensic Science Service, Ministry of Health, Central Prison, the judiciary, all these entities. But then what happens to that information? So you take that information and you basically collate and create information products. And so the media too creates information products. Your news pieces are actually information products that get out there in the public domain. And sometimes it's not just the ordinary people or you know, the viewing audience or the listening audience that your pieces reach far and wide, even outside of Belize, and it has impact. I will tell you that. So we want to recognize that, and especially the people who have been doing it well, doing it meticulously, and looking at different dimensions in a way that not only sensitizes the public, but also raises awareness of some of the emerging issues. For example, during COVID, the whole issue of gender-based violence, and also to put the spotlight on some of the issues that our decision makers and our policymakers need to pay attention to. So it's not just reporting just because you want to put the news out there, but because you want to be a part of that change. And we need to appreciate that role of the media a lot more, the media as a stakeholder. And so this is also to incentivize the media to raise the bar for themselves.
The competition categories are the Best News Story, Best Feature Story, Best News Series, and Best Documentary. Submissions must be made by January 31st, and the BCO will announce the winner on March 1st. And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Sabrina Daly. Thanks for joining us, and from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.